Okay. So very good afternoon, dear all participants. Good afternoon, Mr. Sinjoy sir. Once again, welcome to this FDP on quantum artificial intelligence. We are at the 9th session of this FDP, and I hope you all are enjoying these sessions. So once again, please join me to welcome Mr. Sinjoy Ganguly sir again for this day 3, session 3. In this session, sir will be discussing and utilizing the concepts that we have learned in quantum Fourier transform to implement the quantum phase estimation QPE algorithm, which uses the uh, quantum Fourier transform QFT as well. So QPE has important applications in finance, for example, and is a very important algorithm. So uh, sir will touch upon the Shor's algorithm for period finding, and it will be implemented, or sorry, it will implement the QPE and Shor on IBM Qiskit. So on behalf of all participants, I welcome sir to please deliver his session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to this session on QPE and Shor's algorithm. So previously we have covered the quantum Fourier transform and Grover search. Now we will look at QPE. So let me start sharing my screen. Sir, I think your screen is shared, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. I'm stopping. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Now
sir.
we
Now,
can
now
proceed.
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Before.
So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think
Yes.
it's visible. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so welcome to the third session, quantum phase estimation and Shor's algorithm with the IBM Qiskit. And the following will be the agenda. We will cover quantum phase and Shor's algorithm first, the theoretical foundations, because that is how the Qiskit formulation is entirely based on. So again, you will find it very intuitive and very easy to understand, because now you have the QFT notes with you. And when I will draw the QPE circuit, then you will immediately recognize that it's the QFT itself in a bit more modified form. That's it. Not much, a bit more modified. That's it. But it's the same thing. And you, in the Shor's algorithm, you will see that it's the same circuit as QPE and QFT. So nothing is changing. All right. So let's see. So again, this will be pen paper based, because just like last time, I will be explaining everything in detail. So in QP, first of all, some prerequisites, just as we covered that binary fractional and all those stuff. Here, the first prerequisite that you should recall, let us recall that eigenvalues of a unitary, this is very important because this is how the QPE is actually based on. Eigenvalues of a unitary matrix U is of unit modulus. That means all its eigenvalues are plus minus 1, like that, unit modulus. So it can be written like this. How it can be written? You can write it using Euler's notation, e to the power I theta. Why? Because if you consider U and its like eigenvalues like lambda, so it's saying that absolute value of lambda is equal to 1. But you also know that absolute value of e to the power I theta, and I theta can be anything, is also 1. So let's just replace this. Replace. That means you can write lambda as e to the power I theta. Since you can write that in that form, that means the eigenvalue eigenvector equation which we all study, that changes now. So how it changes? So goal of QPE, okay, this is QPE, quantum phase QPE, is to estimate, we have to estimate the phase, quantum phase estimation. Okay, there is also another one, quantum amplitude estimation, which I explained to you the difference. In that, amplitude is estimated, not the phase. But you can actually use this algorithm to perform those steps, like quantum amplitude estimation. I won't go into that. That's not the agenda, but that is how you can do actually. Phase in e to the power I theta. This phase you want to estimate according to the eigenvalue equation, to the eigenvalue equation. What is eigenvalue? U of psi is equal to, you can write it like this, e to the power 2 pi I theta and then psi. So this is the eigenvalue. So remember now, this is important, that this part, okay, this part is what? This part is eigenvalue which has the phase, eigenvalue which has the phase of U. So this contains phase of U, eigenvalue e to the power 2 pi I theta, and this is the eigenvector. This is the eigenvector. Based on this formulation, the whole QPE is based. So how the algorithm uses? So QPE, and now I will draw the circuit and you will see that it's very same, like similar to the QFT. That's why these two algorithms go hand in hand and there is not much difference. So once you understand QFT, QPE is also same. Not much to understand actually. Uses 2 registers. So why 2 registers? Because QPE works on a principle of phase kickback. I will explain that later. Okay, it works on the principle of phase kickback. That means the phase of this e to the power 2 pi I theta, which is stored, which is eigenvalue of U. It is eigenvalue of U. This phase actually rotates the first register qubits. Okay, that is what is phase kickback. I will do explanation. First point is, first register contains n qubits. First register contains n qubits. N can be anything you like. In which state? In state 0. So all are initialized to 0. In the beginning, all are initialized to 0. Then of course you have to again apply the superposition because you want to take advantage of quantum mechanical properties that we all know. So we will just do that. I will show you in the circuit. So we choose this, we choose the n value, we choose this, we choose the number of qubit, that means the n value according and this is an important point, according to the number of digits of accuracy, number of digits, because we are estimating the phase value. So there must be some number of digits, like maybe like, up to 5 decimal places or 3 decimal places, how much decimal places you want. That depends upon the number of qubits you take. So if you want to high precision, then you might, you want to have like around 5-6 qubits or something, so that you have a high, a full accurate prediction of the phase. So we choose this according to the number of digits of accuracy we wish for our estimated theta, for our estimated theta. And also what we want, and with what probability. So even the probability is also determined by this. So the more qubits you have, the better the precision and better will be the probability with which the procedure is carried out, this QPE. So with what probability we wish the procedure to be successful, like highly probable theta, which is like a highly accurate probable theta. That is the thing, to be successful. now now let us now the second point is what? This is the first register. Then second register contains the state psi, and you can initialize psi with 1, because 1 is the state where the rotations can act, as we all saw before. That's 1 is the state where e to the power 2 pi I, that multiple gets multiplied with state 1. That's why we can initialize it to state 1, state psi. Now let me draw the circuit. You will see that it's very same as that of the QFT. So you will start with there was 0 states, and then you start with Hadamard. So let us start with Hadamard. Let us apply another one. Okay, 2. Then rest of you can draw as dot, maybe n qubits it's going, and you have another Hadamard. Okay, and now what you have, now you will have the following. So let me draw this a bit. Okay, just like this pen is sometimes strange, like it gets slanted, like, okay. And you have this, these are all zeros. So we start with 0 tensor n. So we start with 0 like this. And then what we do this. Observe this circuit carefully and try to compare with the QFT. You will see that there is not much difference. 2 to the power n minus 1. Okay. And these all will be actually controlled. U 2 to the power n minus 2. Okay, then dot, then U 2 to the power 0. Okay, and this is psi. And now you can control. Compare this with the QFT. You will see that the QFT circuit, which we were drawing in the Qiskit tutorial in the last session, you can compare that this is very similar like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly. So you see, the understanding this becomes very easy because you already know QFT. You know the essence. That's why QFT is important to understand. Rest of the algorithms is just extension, I would say. Not much is there. and then you apply, because this is inherently in the Fourier basis and you want to convert it into the computational basis. So QPE is inherently in the Fourier basis. Let me write it somewhere. Okay, let me write here. Okay, inherently this takes place, like the whole those controlled U operations and all those stuff in Fourier basis. That's why you will apply a QFT dagger, means inverse QFT, which will give you back from Fourier to computational basis. That's it. So you just apply a QFT dagger and that's it. Simple. You are done. Make measurements. Okay, so like this dot make measurements. That's it. So these controlled, because U is associated with that phi, sorry, that theta, that angle. So because of this control, the phase is kicked back into these qubits, like these first register qubits. The phase is kicked back. Because of that, we only measure the first register because the phase is already kicked back. Okay, so let me, I don't know how to, okay, let me write this down. This is important part. First, let me just show you how the circuit is actually, like the various states, the general notation which we did for QFT. Let me show you those, and then I will write that statement about phase. One. Now, an important point, note that first register means this is first register. Let me write this. This is first register so that there is no confusion. This is second register. First register is called counting. It's a counting register because it is counting the phase or estimating the phase. Counting register of n qubits, which stores the value 2 to the power n theta. So this is in decimal notation. 2 to the power n theta. This means 2 to the power n theta is actually, you can write it like this, theta 1, theta 2, up to theta, and this is 2, means this is binary. This is decimal. And second register contains psi. That you already know. Second register contains psi. I have written that. So first, let us take the first part. So first means after applying the Hadamard's, after we gain the superposition. What will be the superposition state? We all know already. Psi 1, let us say 1 by under root this state. With psi, of course, psi is always there. Second, after applying Hadamard, we are going to apply the controlled U rotations. Controlled unitary. Since these are controlled, that's why the phase is able to get back. Like it's like, kickback means phase is going to the first register. Even though this is in second register, you can say that the unitary is in second register, but because of that phenomena that is happening, because this is controlled from the first qubit, that's why the phase jumps back to the first register. That is what is known as phase kickback. And that is how this QPE actually works. CU. So how will you do? So let us write a general notation. So if you have U 2 to the power j, because we haven't defined that, and if you apply it to the state psi, then you have these 2 to the power j minus 1 U psi, and you can break it more, U 2 to the power j minus 1, and U psi you already know, e to the power 2 pi I theta. Which is equal to, if you keep on breaking and writing it, then you will see that you will get this phase 2 pi I 2 to the power j theta. That means it wrote, can you see 2 to the power n theta, 2 to the power j theta? Look at this expression. This is how it is rotating because of the control operation. This is how the decimal value, or anything, any way you can take, the value of phase in decimal is getting stored into the first register from the second register. So this is like jumping. This is like jumping from second to first register. So this is what we are observing. So that's why applying n CU to the j and using an identity, we get now I am writing that state psi 2, which is what, after the this one, which is after this one I'm writing, which is after all these controlled unitary operations. So what we will get this state psi 2. This is very similar to QFT. It's not much different. Again, you will get a tensor product kind of notation, 2 pi I, which we got in QFT, 2 pi I theta 2 to the power n minus 1 tensor. Compare this with the QFT equation. You will see that there is not much difference. Only the angle in e to the power 2 pi, only that is different. You can observe that if you compare this equation, which I am writing, theta 2 to the power 1 tensor, and we get this one, e to 2 pi I theta 2 to the power 0. And of course that psi is also coming from the second register. In a more summation form, if you want to write in a more compact form, then you can write like this, just compact notation. K is equal to 0 to 2 to the power n minus 1 e to the power 2 pi I theta k, this k, and tensored with psi. So this is the state what we obtain, and if you look at this equation carefully, this is very same as that of the QFT which we obtained in the last session. Now what about this 3? Let us see 3. So what is the state we are having? So observe that psi 2 expression is same as that of QFT with what? With x in QFT. Compare that, x in QFT replaced with 2 to the power n theta, isn't it? Is everyone able to compare this?
Yes, sir.
Is this part clear? This is very simple, just like the previous one. Only thing is that x is replaced by 2 to the power Okay, okay. Yeah, I am okay. Let me. Okay. Yes, yes, ma'am. Okay, that's nice to know. So, like it is very similar. You can see, you can compare that last equation which we derived, and this one only replace 2 to the power n theta in place of x in QFT, and you will get this same relation. So this is QFT, only x replaced with 2 to the power n theta. So QP is nothing but x replaced with 2 to the power n theta. So, so we can apply QFT dagger because we are working because this is in the Fourier range. This is in the Fourier basis. This is in the Fourier. Okay, this is in Fourier, and we want to go back to computational basis because that is easier to work with. Is 0 and 1, only two states. It's very easy. That's why let us make our job easy to go back to computational basis. And then we will get this state after applying psi3 is equal to after QFT dagger is nothing but just an QFT we have e to the power 2 pi I like that positive. Here we have e to the power minus 2 pi I. So only the like it's a negative in the exponential. That's it. Nothing much is different. QFT dagger. So that is what we will get. So k is equal to 0, 2 to the power. This is the psi2 equation I'm writing. We have 2 pi I theta k. We apply the QFT and we get back this 1, 2 to the n x is equal to 0. So this is the formula of inverse QFT applied to this Fourier basis e to the power minus 2 pi I x minus 2 to the power n theta. You can observe that 2 to the power x is coming because you are applying inverse QFT, but 2 to the power n theta you already know. What is that? X tensor with y, tensor with psi, sorry. So x is now in the like this, so this is now in the computational basis. So this is in the computational basis, this state, computational basis. And observe that 2 to the power n theta is also occurring. That means when you take a measurement, it will reach, you will be able to actually derive 2 to the power n theta when you take the measurement. And that is what fourth point means. Note that psi3 will peak means when we measure it will like the value will be very close to 2 to the power n theta. N is the value which you can define, will peak near 2 to the power n theta because of the presence of this term. And we this like you can see how we are able to get this term here in the inverse QFT, and the measurement will peak around this term. This means that if 2 to the power n theta is an integer term, then with high probability, we obtain what? We will obtain psi4, which is this one, this state in the circuit, the last one, this one, 4. Psi4 is something like this, 2 to the power n theta tensored with psi. So psi remains as it is, but we have actually estimated in our, this is the first, you can see that we got the estimate in first register. Of course, this is second. So with higher probability, we will get this state if it is an integer. If it is not integer, then also with 40% probability, it has been proven in a paper. and I will provide that paper after this session. There is a paper which proves that even if this 2 to the power n theta is not integer, it is not integer, then also you will get 2 to the power, then also you will get a nice estimate of this 2 to the power n theta. Then also psi3 peaks at x is equal to 2 to the n theta with probability better than 40%, better than the maybe 50% or something. Maybe it will be a bit less, but still, even if it is a non-integer, still you can check with that research paper I will share with you later. That will say you that still you can do better, actually. Better than 40%, sorry, 40%. Okay, better than 40%. Okay, now the important part, the phase kickback explanation. Let me write it down, and you also write it down so that you can, like, you can recall this concept. So QPE uses the phase kickback to estimate the phase of U in n and in n qubits. Okay, uses this we already saw that it uses it uses the phase kickback. This means the phase which is stored in the eigenvalue of U. Phase is stored in the eigenvalue of U, as we saw. So this means the phase of the U gate is kicked back to the qubits in the first register via the controlled. So this is the same concept which I have explained to you, via the controlled operations. This kicked back phase rotates the first register qubits, because remember, qubits are what? Qubits are nothing but just some rotations in the Bloch sphere. So that phase, because phase is an angle and rotations are angles defined by angles in the Bloch sphere. So this means the kicked back phase, which is coming from the second register to the first register, rotates the first register qubits to estimate the phase of U gate. That means repeating, when you repeat these things, when you repeat the control, repeating the CU operation, repeating the CU appropriate number of times, when you repeat this, like appropriate number of times, then that encodes theta as a number between 0 and 2 to the n in Fourier basis. That is what we all saw just now. It encodes the theta. As we repeat the CU appropriate number of time, it encodes the value of theta according to your number of unitary rotations, because the phase is kicked back. It is going back to the first register due to the control operation. And everything is happening inherently in the Fourier basis. Then we apply QFT. So if anyone wants a flow chart, this is like this, that it's like if you want to have a okay, before giving the flow chart, let me also give you an example. So if you have the T gate has pi by 4 rotations, if you remember. So when you apply T to 1, you can actually write it in this form, 2 to the power I pi theta 1. So 1 is the eigenvector here, and T is what? T is the unitary. We all know that T is unitary and Hermitian. Then that means 2 pi I theta is equal to I pi by 4. Why pi by 4? Because we saw in the gate that when T is applied to 1, then then pi by e to the power I pi by 4 is multiplied with the state 1. That's why 2 pi I theta is equal to I pi by 4, which will give theta 1 by 8. So this should be our approximate value. Okay, so like that. So this is like, you can also write it like 2 to the power 3. So if you have like 3 qubits, so this is like n is equal to 3. So if you have 3 qubit kind of QP, you can actually estimate pretty well the phase of T gate. That is what it is trying to say. Uh, yeah, so that's, yeah, and then then lastly the flow chart. The flow chart, how is the flow chart working? The flow chart. So the flow chart is like this: apply Hadamard, apply CU rotations, controlled unitary rotations, apply QFT dagger, and apply measurement. That's it. QP finished. Apply measurement. Okay, so that is how QP works. And some of the applications of QP, what are the applications of QP? One application we will see. Yeah, we will see now. Okay, so applications. You will see that Shor's circuit is same as that of QP. So applications of QP. So you can apply it for factoring. Is done by Shor's algorithm. Order finding. Order finding. Then maybe you can apply it for quantum random walks. This is also another concept, mainly motivated by classical random walks. Then you can use this to solve linear system of equations. You can use QPE circuits to solve that. So QPE will act as like a more like a subroutine. So this whole big circuit which we studied, this will be part of a much more larger, bigger circuit for linear system of equations. And you can also use it in finance as well. Okay, so those are the applications of QPE. So is this part clear? I hope that this is clear. This is very same as QFT. Nothing much is different. Yeah, yeah, I can see. Okay, that's nice. Then maybe we can proceed towards Shor's algorithm. Even that is also similar like QP. So not much different. Okay, and we will like solve it using an example. Shor's algorithm is a bit large here, but yeah, I will see. So Shor's algorithm. Let us see. So Shor's algorithm is for factoring. As you know, it is used for factoring. So it will give you. It is used for factoring integers in polynomial time on a sufficiently large quantum computer. So when our quantum computer is sufficiently large and very nice, like that means like your qubits should be really good, then you can check the advantage of Shor's algorithm. So if we have a number n is equal to, which is written in prime factors, so where p and q are prime and large, so both are very large and prime also. So classical computers actually do not do very well and it takes a lot of time. So classically you have this. Classically you have this e to the power c n 1 by 3. N is the number of bits, log n 2 by 3. That's quite a complex equation for complexity. N is number of bits. So this is what the time is required to calculate those prime factors if they are large. And in Shor's algorithm, what happens? In Shor's algorithm, it is little faster than ONQ. Very simple, not so complicated like classical. And we use modular arithmetic in Shor's algorithm. So what is Shor's algorithm? So let me write down the steps of Shor's algorithm. The main steps of Shor's algorithm. First, choose, and then I will also show an example. Choose a random number A such that A is in this range. So let us take this as n. Second point, if GCD, greatest common divisor of A and n, is equal to 1, then a factor of n is found. But usually this is not so easy. In real world, it is not like, okay, you take the A, you choose n and you take a, and then when you calculate the GCD, it immediately comes out to be 1. That is just your luck if it comes out. But in real life, it is not, we are not so lucky. So we have to carry out the whole algorithm. So that's why what we will do then, the next step, find order R. Find order R of A mod n, which will give you like this, means A to the power R 1 mod n. So 1 mod n is nothing, just calculating the remainder. That's it. Just mod n means calculating the remainder. If R is odd, go back to step 1. That means you have to change the A, the random number which you searched. If the R comes out to be even, if R is even, then what will happen? Then you have to again calculate A to the power R 1 mod n will actually give you a to the power r minus 1, 0, mod n, and then you can extract the factors like this because it is even, so you can write like this: ar by 2 minus 1 and ar by 2. This is the algorithm. This is the Shor's algorithm, developed by Peter Shor, professor at MIT, plus 1. So if this condition satisfied, then you have found something. Then then you have to check the GCD again. So check the GCD. Check the GCD of a to the power r by 2 minus 1, okay, with m, and a to the power r by 2 plus 1 with n. Okay, this is n. Let me write this clearly. If either of them, if either of them are not 1, that means they are not equal to 1, then you will say factor of m is found. So if they are not equal to 1, the GCD, then you will say that the factor m is found. So this is success. So the algorithm successfully calculates. Otherwise, what will happen? Otherwise, again, you have to, if both are 1, if both are 1, repeat from step 1 again. Repeat from step 1 again with another a. Okay, so that is Shor's algorithm. That is what Shor devised for factoring, and there is a quantum factoring algorithm. Like this can run on a quantum computer. You can run this on a classical as well. Like you can write a code and it will calculate all this stuff with loops and functions and everything. But yeah, this is actually he developed for quantum computers. Now let us solve. So solving an example, then we will see the circuit. Okay, we will see the circuit for the same example which we are considering. Solving an example using Shor's algorithm. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to factor n is equal to 15. We will factor 15. We already know that factor of 15 is 3 and 5, and both 3 and 5 are primes. So something like that we want to achieve actually. So what you will do, the first step, pick a number a. So let's say a is equal to 13. So let us pick 13. You can pick anything, but yeah, let's say we have 13. Now you have to calculate the period. So that means you have to calculate 13 to the power r mod 15. And now you can take x values as or the r values, like maybe you should say r values as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can just calculate, you have to find the period where it starts repeating. So when you calculate this 13 to the power r mod 15, then you will get 1, 13, 4, 7, again 1, 13, 4, 7. That means after this, it starts repeating. That means r is equal to 4. Isn't it? The period is 4 because after these 4 numbers, it starts repeating again. This is again a repeat. That means r is equal to 4. So r is the smallest number such that a to the power r and mod n, which we already saw, is equal to 1. That means a to the power r is 1, mod n is equal to, we got it to be 4. So r is 4. So r is equal to 4. This is the period. So we found out the period. That means now we can move on to the next calculation. So let us say if now x is equal to AR by 2. So we will just apply Shore's formula. AR by 2 mod n is equal to 13 4 by 2 mod 15. What we will get? 4 mod 15. Now we have a to the power r by 2 plus 1, a to the power r by 2 minus 1. So if we just consider this as x, like if we just take it as x, then you can calculate x plus 1 is equal to 4 plus 1, which we got just now. 4 is equal to 5. And similarly, now you can calculate the GCD, which we will calculate the GCD. So we are in this step. We are in the 5th step actually. We are calculating the GCD. So GCD of with n. This means GCD of 5 comma 15, which gives 5. Then GCD of x minus 1 means a to the power r by 2 minus 1, this one. So this one we calculated, plus 1. This one we calculated, now we are calculating this one. And both are not equal to 1. Remember, it said that if both are not equal to 1, if either of them are not one, factor of m found, success. And we will see that it is not actually. It is not equal to 1. GCD of 3 comma 15 is equal to 3. It is not 1. That means the factors, what will the factors? These are the factors. These are the factors we found. So algorithm became a success. So we say that PQ is equal to 5, 3. These are the factors which we found using the Shore's algorithm. This is just classical computation. Okay, this is a classical computation. So I hope this part is clear. This is just applying the algorithm. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 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 That's nice. Okay. So now let us see the quantum circuit for this same example, which we just now solved. This factoring 15. So let me do here. Now quantum circuit. So we will see the quantum circuit for this. Quantum circuit for Shore's algorithm. For 15. So let's say for 15. Then we will also see the general one also. The general one is same like QP, the general circuit. Let us see a specific circuit first, so that you can appreciate like how actually this thing works. So let us see. Let us start with again our same superposition. You will find that in each and every quantum algorithm, we always start with this, because without this, we won't get any power actually. So 0. Okay. Then so this is like you can say this is X, and then we have another register. Okay, we have this register first. Okay. Then we have another register that also has, so we have 4 qubits there, and here also let us consider that we have 4 qubits because we are factoring 15. So, and 15 in binary is represented in four digits. So that's why we have taken 4 qubits. So this is the oracle which is actually applied. The inside circuitry of this is the modular exponentiation, which we will see after this, like the general circuitry, how you implement AFAN, how like UFAN, how will you implement that? That we will see in Qiskit. I will show you a more general technique which you can actually apply to your work also if you are working with Shores or you want to experiment with that. Then this is very similar. This UFAN is actually your QPE kind of circuit. So this UFAN and this one QFT dagger, these both are like QPE circuit. You actually use the QPE circuit. So this is one of the application of QPE. And finally you do some measurement. And also now we will solve this. Okay, so where there here we have this. um, Let me draw this. We have this state. This is a measurement. Now let me solve this circuit just as we have done before. So this is 2, this is 1. Here you can say it's 0, 1, 2. Then we have 3 here. After this qubits, like the second register is measured, it won't be carry over to the first in the calculations because its states have already been collapsed. That's why only the first will be considered. And this is 5. All right, let's see step 0. Step 0, the same analysis which we have done. Even you can also like maybe start doing it on your own. You are now familiar with all the techniques. So this is X and this is W. Next we have step 1. So after Hadamard, we get a superposition state, as we know. So we apply H tensor 4 to the 0. Okay, this is also like 0 tensor 4 and like that. And we have this. So the order is like this only, like X, W, X, W, like first register, second register, like that only. So order, I am not changing any order. The order is same. First X, then W, like that. Then step 2. In step 2, okay, first let me also expand this. This will be like this. This will help you to like appreciate what is happening. This will go till 15. And then, so I think this step is clear. We are just applying Hadamard to the first register. Now we want to apply UFAM, which is what? Which is modular exponentiation circuit. We will see that later. So let's assume that we know that modular exponentiation is nothing but it carries out the exponentiation operation which we learned, the modular, the mod n, that calculation that is done by that circuit. So we can write it like this. So here we are considering the 13 only. A is equal to 13. And now you will have this. And you will see that this is actually like these things, these modular, this is that circuit, this is actually, this circuit is the controlled unitary, which we learned in QP. This is that circuit which performs it. Okay, I will write it. And plus, okay, let me give another state. You will understand then 2, 4. So this is the first register. I am still writing in the same convention. So nothing has changed. And then plus it will go on, okay, till 15. Okay, I will write those states. Okay, just for your convenience, I will write all the states. This thing is actually the CU part of QP. We will see that general circuit soon. Then you will appreciate it better. So which is this, that circuit is inside this UFAN box. Now let me write. So we have to be a bit patient. So let me write all these states because you will understand actually why we are writing them in the next step when we start measurement and all those stuff. So the order is same, X and W. So 11347, that is what we received. So that is what I'm actually writing. So that 11347 will be associated with all the first register qubits. So in the second only, this is the second is where the controlled unitary is actually there. That's why we are getting those 11347 because of the controlled unitary box present in the second register. So that is what is inside that box, and now let me write. So this is 4, and then again 1, then 5, then 13. Next, we are almost, it will be almost over. Okay, and finally this one, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Sorry, 4 and 15. Okay, so these are all the states. I just wrote all the states for you, and now you can maybe cross verify if I did any mistake or not because there are so many terms. So just give it a verification. All right.
Sir,
This is
this
step
states,
two.
excuse me, sir.
Mhm.
Sir, this
Yeah.
states for CU part of this QPE or what?
Which one? No, no, this is
These all
coming
these
here. This is coming here. This is coming here. Two,
okay,
here. Before
okay,
measurement. Before measurement.
before measurement. Okay,
Yeah, after we measure, now I'm going to write the third step. It
okay,
collapses. After we measure, it will
okay,
collapse. So we will be only left with the first register.
okay.
Okay, so that is how it works. So step three. So we actually utilized the power of modular exponentiation to get our like 11347 the R value, the
Mm-hmm.
period. Yeah. So we just took that advantage and then we throw the second register away, something like that. We just took advantage of second register to
Mm.
get that period and now we throw it away because we don't require. So throwing away means just take measurement and it will collapse. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah. So that is what it means. So measure the W register. So I think I have written it. Okay, let me write here. Be easy. This is W register. X I have already written. X is already written. First register X, second register W. So yeah, W register say, so let us assume say we measure. So once we take a measurement, since how many chances are there in the W? There can only be four possible states. What are those? 1, 13, 4, and 7. That means, so for example, we will measure only out of those four states. So let us say we measure 7. Okay. Then what we will have? We will have like this. That means all those states which are having 7, they will be only present. Rest of the things have collapsed. That means they are no longer available. So we will have this state, this state, and this state. Okay. So that is all what we have left in the first register. If you see the numbering, the third, there is a step third. Now we will apply QFT dagger because this is like QPE circuit. So that means we have to apply QFT dagger. So that will be the next step. So let me, now you have to be a bit patient because it's like all those a bit boring QFT calculation, but yeah, it's just like applying the formula. That's it, nothing else. But yeah, writing them down actually it helps you to understand what is happening. So apply QFT dagger on the first register. So then what you will have, so let me first define the QFT dagger relation. So QFT dagger can be applied on this Fourier basis to go back to computational basis, which is given by this relation. We have already seen this, but I'm just writing because we will actually write this for all those four states which we have. 2 pi I x y divided by n, and okay. Let's see. Okay, just a minute. I think some error, I think. Let me open the notebook again. Oh, it's what happened? Oh, it opened automatically. Okay, fine. Let's proceed.
yes, sir.
Yeah, must be some error. Um, Draw. Okay, so which means that now we can do QFT dagger on the state 3. We have only 4, like 3, 7, 11, 15. We have only 4. So 3. So when we will do, like, we just applying the formula, nothing much. I will just write these expressions. You can write on your own. This is a bit boring part, but yeah, this is actually good for you explanation. 2 pi I, x is 3, so 3y divide by 16 and y. Similarly, the other ones. All right, so QFT is almost over. Now we are almost to the step 5. That means the final step of the circuit, which is after measurement. So what will happen? Okay, so let's write the final ones. Okay, so after the QFT, now after all these stuff, all this calculation, now finally we got some results. So what are the results which we will measure actually in the step 5? So we will perform a measurement on X. We will perform a measurement on X register, and we will see these states which we received finally: 0, 4, 8, and 12. These are the states which we will receive from that QFT dagger calculation with equal probabilities, and from this only we should be able to find the factor. Now that means finding the factor, that means quantum computer has given you some estimates that with 0, 4, 8, 12 you should be able to find the factor. That means now we will do classical post processing. So we have to also apply classical post processing, means classical computations. So how we will do, let us see. Now for the Shor's algorithm, we have this relation that the measurement the measurement results, okay, the measurement results peak near, this is a part of Shor's algorithm, Jn by R. Like after you run the Shor's circuit, it has been shown by Shor that it peaks near Jn by R for some integer, j belonging to. This means, so let us now start with 4. So we have 0, 4, 8, 12. So 0 means nothing. Okay, we can't do anything with 0. So let us start with 4. So if we by chance have the 0 as a measurement, so we will either attain any of these states. If we have 12, if we have 8, if we have 4, then we will be able to extract the factors. But with 0, we can't do anything. So we have to try again. We have to make measurement again. So this means, now let me give the example and solve. So if you measure, let us assume that you measure 4. So this means J 16 by R is equal to 4. So this will become true. This relation is true when J is equal to 1 and R is equal to 4. So R is equal to 4. So for R is equal to 4 is even, we will again calculate those a to the power R by 2 plus 1 a to the power, just as we did in that previous example, the same things. Those are all classical post-processing steps. So x a to the power R by 2 mod n, we will apply those same steps again, the ones which I described you. But now we have some factors which have been found from the quantum computer. That's the only difference. You see, from the circuit, we got these numbers 0, 4, 8, 12. Now, on the basis of that, we are applying. Previously, we were taking our own guess of A and doing like that manually. That was completely classical. Now, with the help of a quantum circuit, we are trying to find. You may say that, okay, like this is very simple example because why? Because this is for small numbers. But when the numbers become really large, that is when Shor's algorithm actually works. That is when you will be able to see the main power. So for small, you will feel that, okay, it is not giving you much, like it is not so fun actually. But actually, when the numbers become large, this becomes really, really important, this algorithm. Similarly, x minus 1 means a to the power R by 2 plus 1, a to the power R by 2 minus 1, that one. That formula, that algorithm we are doing, that's it. And calculating the GCD, checking if both are not equal to 1, that means the factors are found. That's it. So that is how we do. So for this case, so when we measure 4, we are able to find both of our factors. But what about for R? So this is like R is equal to like 4, this one. What about R is equal to 8? If we measure 8, so we have 0, 4, 8, 12. So what about 8? And what about 12? For 0, we already know that we have to measure again. 0 doesn't gives any results. Then again, you have to measure the J16 by R is equal to 8. True. If J is equal to 1, R is equal to 2, or there are two conditions. This can be true. If J is equal to 2, R is equal to 4. That means there are two conditions. That means we won't be able to find one factor. We will partially find the solution, but we will find some solution. It's not like that. We will find not fully, but partially. So let us consider the case when we found R is equal to 2, this one. Because R is equal to 4, we have already done. We found all solutions. We found all factors. R is equal to 4, just this example, this one. What about R is equal to 2? Will we be able to find? We will find one less factor. That's it. So again, the same procedure. Okay, and x minus 1 is equal to 1 comma GCD of 1 comma 15, which is actually equal to 1. So this became 1. It shouldn't be equal to 1, but it became 1. That means we only get partial solution. So what we get? We get partial solution, not the full one. So one factor we know. Maybe another factor we can do by some other method. Maybe we can measure again. So for R is equal to 12, we have J 16 by R is equal to 12, and this is true if J3 R4. So even if we measure 12, and if we have this condition J3 R4, then also we will be able to have all factors. So a quantum computer suggested, what it suggested you? It suggested you this 4, this 8 and 12. And we were able to extract factors. However, 0 will not work. If 0 comes, try again. With 0, you won't get any results. You need concrete numbers. Okay. So that is how it is a proof which shows that, okay, with the short circuit, you can actually get those, after some classical post processing, of course, you can get those factors. So classical post processing can be done by the classical computer. That's why most of the startups today in quantum computing space are using hybrid classical quantum mechanisms. So it's not like they are completely quantum. They are actually taking the help of classical computers also, like this, like Shor's algorithm has suggested. This is like one of the hybrid. This is like a hybrid classical quantum. This is very important because most of the startups are working on this classical quantum algorithm. Okay, now let us, let me show you quickly that modular exponentiation circuit, the UFAN, how we do that. So is there, is this part clear? I hope that this is clear. This is the same calculation. Nothing much is different actually. We just got those numbers and we just did some post processing, x plus 1, x minus 1, and calculated GCD. Okay, I am receiving yes. Okay. Sorry. Um, okay, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for the response. So let me show the last part, and then I will show you the Qiskit demo. The demo, it will be like, yeah, very straightforward. You will see it's not something like very hard. It's very straightforward. So modular exponentiation. So modular exponentiation is the name of the circuit which Shor's algorithm can actually which is required to implement Shor's algorithm for larger numbers. So this will be the Shor's algorithm circuit. Okay. If you note the number, the period, you can write the period in this notation, the fractional binary, which I showed you before. So this one you already are familiar. We can write it like this. Okay. This means so f of a comma n x is given by a to the power x mod n, and in place of x you can put the value, isn't it? 2 to the power n minus 1 x1 plus, like that, and minus 2 x2, like this. You can put this 2 to the power 0 x. Mod n is also there, and you get these values: a 2 to the power n minus 1 x1. Since this is plus, so you can write it in the multiplication form, n minus 2 x2, then like this, x n, mod n. With this, that means you can actually apply controlled unitary with 2 to the powers, which have 2 to the power j. If you remember, 2 to the power j is what we implemented in QP. So that means the same kind of circuit will work. So like this, you can have a Hadamard H tensor n. Okay, let's have maybe 4 lines. Okay, and here you will have your first. This is same as that of QP. Okay, then the second one, u 2 to the power 1. This is the modular exponential circuit. This is same as that of QP. Then another one, u 2 to the power n minus 2, and let's draw this one also, u 2 to the power n minus 1. Okay, so this will be from the third qubit, and this one will be like this. And then what? QFT inverse, QFT dagger, and that's it. Measure. Start with 0 state. All right, so it's the same as okay, yeah, these things. Just forgot to draw. It's the same as QP. So one, you understand, the rest is easy. So once you understand QFT, QP, and sure, you are well covered. That's it. So only understanding one will give you an idea about the other two algorithms, because they all are same with very minor modification. Okay, so I hope that this is clear. Okay. So this is Shor's algorithm, and the circuit is same as the QPE. So I hope that you appreciate like how we can actually use the QFT, a simple concept like QFT, and then extend it to other algorithms. So is this one clear? Should I show you the Qiskit demo? That's also very same like QFT. So I think everyone is getting tired. I think everyone is getting tired. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can see. Yes, sir. Okay. 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 Fine. Okay. I will just show the demo. It's not like this. What is not like this? Ma'am, what is not? Okay, it's a very interesting. Okay. Okay. Maybe then I am feeling tired. Maybe. Oh, okay, not tad. Oh, that's really nice. Maybe then I'm feeling tad. I don't know. Okay, that's not out. That's fine. Perfectly fine. And okay, let us see this. Let us see the demo. Okay, I have ran this demo before. I will just show you the output. So we define a QFT dagger. So in QFT dagger, it is like opposite of QFT, like traversing, just traverse the circuit in a reverse way. Like in the last, you remember in the QFT, we have swap gates. So first we apply the swap gates and then we apply the control phasing and Hadamard. So in opposite way. So just traversing the circuit in a reversible manner. That is what is QFT. So that's very easy to implement. And we use this circuit. So this is the circuit which I have shown you. This is that same modular exponentiation circuit, the QPE circuit. And we take a simple example, like if we have a X gate and we want to perform a QP calculation and obtain its eigenvalue. So this is how manually you can do it. And this notebook will be shared, so you can have a look, and you can also calculate the eigenvalues. You can see that we are getting 1 by root 2 1 1, 1 by root 2 1 minus 1. What are these? Plus and minus states, as I mentioned in the first session today in the morning. So that is how. And then what we do is that we implement a simple circuit. We just apply two Hadamards. We create a superposition, and then we apply a C0 gate, and we apply a Hadamard again. This is the circuit, which is helpful for obtaining eigenvalues of Pauli matrix X. So maybe you can try for some other circuit as well. So this is just a basic circuit. But the main stuff is this one, phase estimation. So what we do is that we first make a generalized QPE circuit. This is generalized. That means you can provide the circuit, angle, and the control qubits, because we are controlling the qubits according to our QPE. We are controlling like this, just like QFT. Yeah, like this. So from the first, then second, then up to 2 to the power 0. So up to n. So that is what we are actually doing. And once we have this general function, we can actually use it to calculate. So here is an example of S gate, which is pi by 2. I showed you the T gate. This is the same as X gate. So here the theta we obtain is 1 by 4. And what we have to do, we have to estimate whether S gate is working properly or not. Maybe you want to verify that really if I pi by 2 is really the case with S gate or not. So you take the angle to be pi by 2. You define it pi by 2, initialize a quantum circuit. 4,3 means 4 qubits and 3 classical. See, 3 classical. That means three measurements. So that is a shortcut way of defining. This is what I was saying you earlier, that without defining a quantum register, you can define it in shortcut rather than defining them separately, like a quantum register, then a classical register. This is like a shortcut. First one is for quantum register. This is classical register. You can define the qubits here itself. And then you initialize a loop. You apply the Hadamards just as we did. You initialize the last state with X. If you remember, I said you in QP circuit, we initialize the last with X, like with a 1, the state 1. That is what we are doing actually. And then we apply these controlled phasing. So these are those controlled phasing, this one, controlled unitary. That is what we are doing. After we apply that, this is you see, this is a QFT dagger. You see, this is a three qubit QFT circuit in opposite way. You can compare it. If you start traversing from here, H, and then these two, then H in the middle, then this. If you start start traversing this circuit in reverse, then you will see that it is exactly the QFT circuit. But here it is in reverse. So we have traversed the circuit in reverse. We started from the swap gates, and then we applied Hadamard, then phase, then again Hadamard, like that, opposite way. That is what we are doing here. So we called that QFT dagger, which we already made, general circuit. to make our job easier, and then we measure the state 0, 1, 0. Now we convert this 0, 1, 0 into binary into decimal, which we get as 2. We all know 0, 1, 0 is 2. That means we can measure what is the formula, solution divided by 2 to the power n. That means 2 divided by 2 to the power n, which is giving us 1 by 4. And that is the expected theta. Just now we saw that we should receive 1 by 4. And that is what we are receiving. Similarly, now I want you to try with some other values, like maybe not 1 by 4, but maybe, you know, some 1 by 16 or something, which is not related to any S or T gate or anything. Just make up your own angles and try whether it is working or not. This is just an example to show that 2 pi I by 5. So 2 pi by 5. So 2 pi by 5 is just the arbitrary angle we have taken. And we took control as 8 qubits because we want some higher precision. So if you remember, I mentioned to you in the QP that if you want a higher precision of the angle estimation, then you should use more qubits and like, you know, a proper probability of success. So they are using 8 qubits. So we are using 8 qubits. The concept is same. We just apply those functions. We call those functions and we get this 8 qubit QP. It's very large. You can see, you can scroll down. This circuit is actually going on. This is not ending. It will end on measurement. This is a 8 qubit QFT dagger. 8 qubit inverse QFT. Look at this circuit. It's large circuit. We can't do this with hands, of course. And then we measure all those. So once we do that, then we measure this state 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. Then you can convert this and we get 50 in decimal. That means 50 divided by 2 to the power n. N is 8, the first register qubits. We get 50 divided by 256, which is 0.195. And what was theta? 1 by 5, which is 0.2. That means we are very close. We have almost estimated our theta. Are you getting this point? This is very straightforward, I think. Oh yeah, thank you so much, sir. Are you getting that point which I'm mentioning? Arbitrary angles. You can estimate any angle now. You have the function, you have to just run it. It's very straightforward. And you can have any number of qubits you want. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm receiving some, yes. Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm just confirming, you know, because yeah, even though it is straightforward and it's not very difficult, we are using the same simulators and everything, but still. So yeah, maybe now you can try some other angles also. Maybe, or maybe, you know, with this angle only, try to reduce the number of qubits. Maybe, you know, do it with 4 and then check how much precision are you really getting with 4. Is it able to detect 2 pi by 5 angle with 4 qubits only? You can check all those things, you know, which I told you about the theoretical concepts. You can verify that practically. With 8 qubits, we are getting a really nice results. Very close, 0.195. That means 0.2 only. I can say it's 0.2. But with 4 qubits, will we get that? That's the homework. You can try. Maybe just change and then try it. All right, and this is the T, the example which I gave you. So for T also, you can actually calculate, and here you get 001, and here you get 1 decimal. Again, you take solution divided by 2 to the power n, and you get 1 by 8. So theta is equal to 1 by 8 for T gate, which I showed you. That is what we verify here in experiment. Okay, so that's very pretty straightforward, very much like applying QFT in a bit different manner. The code will also be very similar to QFT actually. If you compare this, you will see that it's not different. The general functions which we have defined, it's very same. Okay, so since this is clear, so let me go to Shor's. So Shor's circuit I have just defined. This circuit I just now showed you. You can apply Hadamard, then the Q, and then this circuit is whole QP, this controlled unitary, and this QFT. And for this one, this is my handwriting only. So this is, you know, this is a general way how you can use, you know, how you can define the unitary operator for a given a and n value with this formula y and then u of y. So u of y is 3y mod 14. So maybe for different a, if you want to factor 14, where 14 is the number which is factored. So now what you can do, you can change this number in the code and check whether it is able to provide you right probabilities or not. But for that, what you have to do, you have to calculate all these values, and you have to give them, you have to form this unitary matrix, because this is a this is like a more shortcut way of doing it. Like if you don't want to make your own C0 circuit and all those stuff, which takes time, you can just directly encode this operator. You can directly encode this matrix into an operator, as I defined you in Grover search. Let me show Grover search. This one I'm talking about, like this. You can do something like this. So I have done like that only. I just defined U. This is the matrix I defined. So when the n becomes large, it is a bit difficult. Like this is like n is equal to 14, which have four qubits. So that means 16 cross 16. So this is a 16 cross 16 matrix, which is a bit difficult to implement. But yeah, for shorter ones you can do. And this is a shortcut. So here also we have defined the QFT dagger. And we do it with the help of this. So U gate is unitary gate. So what we define, U2 to the power j. Can you see that operation? U2 to the power j. I have defined it here. 2 to the power qubit.
Yes.
And qubit is in the loop. Is this clear? The same operation which I am teaching you.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's the operation which we defined. And finally, we start appending that gate with our OFC. That means order finding circuit. Once we do, you will get this circuit like this. This is the QFT dagger. And you can see that this matches with the Shor's circuit, which we have here. So again, whether you applied this first, that first, again, quantum circuits are reversible. So using that concept, we can do like this, or maybe you can do like that, any way is fine, any way you want. And yeah, and then finally you will get some measurements of probabilities. So you will take the first like 2 or 3 higher probability measurements. And for example, in this one, you will get this state 000, this one 0100. So which you convert into decimal, you will get these results. And once you have that, you can actually approximate the period in the denominator. So 19 by 64 is this, and if you calculate like 2 by 6, then also you will see that you will get somewhat nearby value to 0.29. Similarly, if you calculate 4 by 6, you will get somewhat nearby value to 0.64. Again, it is not perfect, but yeah, you get the idea. Like we are able to recognize we are able to extract the period out of that circuit. So R is equal to 6. And this is the classical verification. I just calculate the mod value, 3 to the power I mod 14. When I calculate that, you can see that it is 6 really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So after 1, everything repeats. 3, 9, 13, 11, 5, 1. 3, 9, 13, 11, 5, 1. Like that. That means really quantum circuit is able to extract R is equal to 6. So are you getting this point? This is a general circuit, Now you can calculate for any value of A and any N. Take any A, any N, maybe like not 4 qubits, but take 3 qubits so that the matrix definition becomes easier for you. And then you can confirm how it is working. So is this point getting clear? I think this is also something like QPE only, not much different.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So I think, sir, with that, I will conclude, because that's what I wanted to show you, and I will share all the files with you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that everyone can, run experiments, and they can just, try all these codes, and just, yeah, they can just try that.
Right. So participants, do you have any doubts?
Okay,
Uh,
I am receiving reply.
sir,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
sir,
Yes, ma'am.
you told the applications of QPE, and the last application is the last application was finance.
Finance. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I am not.
So
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
you wrote that. So can you little bit give some example with that?
Yeah, actually, out of my head, I do not remember the example. I actually studied this somewhere in a paper. I have a very nice paper with me, which is Quantum for Finance. I will share with you, ma'am, and maybe you can explore more, because
That's
actually
good, sir.
finance is also, yeah, not my domain. So I just, I just read that paper a very, very little to get an
Yes.
idea, and there I saw that QP and like all these concepts are being used in finance as well.
Okay,
Actually,
sir.
mostly in finance, ma'am, you used quantum amplitude estimation, because as
Okay.
I mentioned in the session one, you
Mm-hmm.
carry out Monte Carlo simulations for like credit risk analysis or portfolio optimization. So,
Yes.
if you want to carry out quantum amplitude estimation, you can actually use QPE for that. There are
Okay.
others, yeah, there are other algorithms also which can implement QAE, amplitude estimation, but QPE can also be utilized for that purpose.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
So
Yeah, yeah.
please mention to that reference link to Darshan sir.
Ma'am, I will send to sir. I have
Okay,
the
sir.
paper. I will, yeah, yeah, yeah. I will send. I will
Okay,
send.
sir.
Or
Thank
ma'am, you can just send me a mail. Let me write my mail address again.
Yes, I have your email ID.
Oh, okay,
Definitely,
okay, okay,
I
okay,
will tell you.
okay,
Yes.
okay, ma'am. If you can please remind me, I will share you that paper. Quantum
Okay,
Sir,
sir.
finance.
please write your mail.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please write your mail again.
Right. Okay, okay. I will write. Okay. So I have sent my mail. Have you received it, sir? I
Yes,
think
sir.
some. Oh,
Yes, sir.
okay,
It
okay,
is
okay.
good.
Thank you. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
So, yeah. Any
Okay.
doubts? Definitely, please reach.
Okay, fine. So I think there are no doubts, queries. So once again, on behalf of the participants and organizers of this FDP, I want to thank you, sir, for such a insightful and informative sessions today. So, sir, please accept our sincere appreciation for the
Thank you, sir.
outstanding
Thank you.
presentations you made to this third day of this FDP on quantum artificial intelligence. So, it was really very interesting to hear about quantum concepts, your depth of understanding the quantum concepts, and your ability to present the things in such an interesting way produced the most memorable sessions of this FDP, I think. So
Thank you
once
so
again,
much, sir.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing your time and knowledge with us. We all surely agreed that your sessions were really very interactive and interesting and informative too. And of course, I hope that you will accept our invitation in the advanced level of this FDP in nearby future. So thank you
Definitely,
very much.
definitely, sir.
Yes. Also, thanks to all respected participants for your attention and patience. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we will
Thank you.
stop
Thank you so
here
much.
for today and let us meet uh, tomorrow for the 10th session, that is day 4, session 1. So thank you very much, all of you. Have a nice time ahead. Thank you.
Excuse me, Darshan sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, when and where you are going to provide this kind of downloaded session or this recorded session to me?
I will share it through Drive, madam. I'm just waiting for all those deliverables from all guest speakers. So once I receive, I'll deliver.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank
Yes.
you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good day, sir. Good day.
Good day. Good day, ma'am. Okay.